to the BAM Pod. Discover Plumas County, where adventure meets tranquility. Nestled in the heart of nature, Plumas County offers endless activities for everyone. Dive into the clear waters of Lake Almanor for wakeboarding thrills and fishing excitement. Whether you're an adrenaline junkie or a fishing enthusiast, Lake Almanor has something for you. Stroll through charming local boutiques and indulge in fine dining experiences that will tantalize your taste buds. From unique shops and gourmet restaurants, Plumas County is a haven for those who love to explore and savor. Immerse yourself in lush forests of pine and fir trees, perfect for camping, hiking, and biking. And don't miss the breathtaking Lassen Volcanic National Park, where you can witness the power and beauty of nature up close. Footloose in Plumas County, your ultimate escape for adventure, relaxation, and unforgettable memories. Visit Plumas County today.
All right, welcome in everybody to the BAM Pod. I'm your host, Big Ed, and on the line tonight, I have got a 21-year-old out of Simpson College who just went up to Almanor, and that's right, he walked out as the champ with a great, big, beautiful bass cat in tow. $65,000 plus some extra money for the side pots. Brennan Osborn, welcome in, my friend. Welcome in.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure, man. That was great to watch. Led wire to wire, took home the entire thing. You know, watching that whole event, you know, you had some, I wanted to say this the entire time. You had Roy Hawk. You had Bryant Smith. Ish Monroe, Greg Gutierrez. They were all there. They were all in the championship. They were all wanting to take that home. And you stepped up. And you can put as many feathers in your cap as you would like, but you beat every single one of them, and you did it in a very, very convincing fashion, man. There was nobody close. How does that make you feel inside?
It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I mean, and just those guys you named, you know, that's just naming a few of them. All those guys that got there had to qualify to be there. So, you know, I knew it was going to be steep going into that thing. And I was definitely anxious just to get started. You know, I knew I had a good practice, and I've had plenty of them that didn't work out for me. So I was hoping this was going to be the one, and all the lights were on. You know, that tournament's big time. So, you know, when you're looking into the eyes of Bryant and Greg and Roy and everyone else, like you were saying, man, those guys wanted bad, you know, and I wanted it bad too. So I knew we had to go out there and earn it, but I was definitely anxious just to get after it. I just couldn't wait to have Michael get through those announcements so I could get out of that marina and just go take a breath out there.
Yeah, it's a little bit I guess it's a good thing when the nerves go away when you're actually fishing. I think that's the sign of a true, you know, top angler, is that, you know, you just wanted to get out there and start doing it. Because when you have that, you know, we talked a little bit at the meeting before. Bryant is a true competitor. He is an absolute, just one of those guys out there. And you said he was not razzing you or anything else. He was playing a different kind of mind game. He was being nice to you. And, you know, I know that there's nothing to that other than the fact that he was probably just trying to be nice and play a little bit of head games with the young guy. But you know what? You stepped up and you worked your way through it. And like you said, there were 31 other anglers on that water that worked for 8 months to get there. Not a single one. I named the bigger names, guys who have, you know, it's a pro-am, but, you know, the bigger game guys, most of the Super 60 guys who are out there doing it, you know, for a living. But there were 31 other guys out there that absolutely wanted that title. Nobody showed up to lose. That's just not how it was. I mean, Christian Ostrander was there, you know, he made it and couldn't quite make it. There was just Aaron Britt, you know, he had an in for the last day, and he ended up having to step aside. But there was so many names there, man, and it's to me, it's a little bit, I don't know, it's just it's just so awesome to see a young kid like yourself, 21 years old, coming up there and taking it. That was impressive to watch. It was the weights that you put up. Was it like 21 the first day, 20 the second day? And then I think you ended up with, what was your third day? 17, 18, somewhere in that range. 17 pounds, I think it was. Or no, it was, you had 20 pounds, 2007, I think it was something like that. I mean, you had
Yeah,
over 20 pounds for 3 days in a row, and nobody else was doing that, you know?
yeah, that consistency that was really the tough part there. And, we had weather changing and things every day. So, when Thomas hopped in the boat and we were doing the little interview deals in the morning, I was telling him, I was like, man, I know there's going to be something different about each day out here. And as much as I could do the night before to take what I had learned from practice and either day one or day two to try and adapt, like I'm always trying to keep an open mind to what that could be, but I don't really know because I don't have the experience on that lake to know what it does to them.
Right.
So I was kind of trying to think ahead about what it could be and kind of rig for that. And, a couple of times it worked, and a couple of times, you guys saw me, I had to change hooks on day 3 for whatever reason. It's just something weird like that. I don't know why, but really that just the instinct and decision making, I felt like, I finally had that tournament where practice was good, but I was making the adjustments when it was really crunch time, and that really made the difference for me. I think compared to previous tournaments where, you get close, but it's one or two things that hold you back. And I think this tournament, either the choice to go shallow, change colors, put less weight in the bait, keep putting scent on there, retie my leader, sit down and just breathe for a minute, whatever it was, something clicked. So it ended up going in my favor finally.
Yeah, it's all those little things. And I think one of the I guess one of the lessons you'll probably take out of this is you just won this one, and it's a big event. This is your first major event like this. This is your first big win like this. And now 100% what it takes to win one.
Mm-hmm.
Like that experience alone is never going to go away. I mean, you're going to be like, you know what? Okay, I know what it takes to win. You're going to get out there. You're going to start working. You're going to start on it. You're going to be your next big tournament, and you're going to be sitting there going, you know what? I know I have to step this up a little bit more. I have to change this. I've got to do this. All those lessons, all those little things that you did are now going to be stuck in your head forever. You'll know how to get there. And that is so important, I guess, is the best way to say that, in learning, just how much work you've got to put in, what your pre-fish has to look like, how much time you've got to do to get that win. That is just information you'll never get away from.
Yeah, 100%. And, I have really good mentors and buddies and everything from back home. And they're telling me, just always stay hungry, keep an open mind. Just never settle for whatever you got. There's always fish biting somewhere. There's always a tweak you can make, so my mindset for it is always that way. There's always something more I can be doing or some adaptation I can make to always get to that next level. So, and, even my dad, he always tells me, he's like, man, I could never fish the way you do. You're so open-minded. Like I would get so locked into fishing one way, or I wouldn't have caught a limit in this tournament. I just tell him it's how it comes to me. I can't really think about it any different. If this is the way they're reacting, I got to do something about it, and I can't force them to do it. I just got to do what they're telling me. So that I attribute a lot of it to trying to stay open-minded. And, even though I was only throwing 2 rods in this tournament, I knew what my bait was, but I had to keep it open, at least for the little tweaks or whatever I had to make to it. So, but yeah, I've got a lot of great people supporting me and always keeping me kind of grounded in that realm, so I can step up to be on that next level, and finally got to show it off a little bit.
Absolutely. And you showed it off in a big way. That's for sure. You said stay hungry in there. And the only thing that I can take out of that is that stay hungry. And apparently you like to stay thirsty, because that's all we heard about back when you were out fishing was that he never drinks enough. We got to drink. It's one of those things that I know what you're talking about because it's one, I get out there, I don't want to do anything other than just fish. So I get that part of it. You know, we we had this tournament and something kind of cool happened also on the co-angler side. The guy who won it,
Mhm.
Brian Cogburn, he did something that nobody else has done. But I'm going to lead in with this thing. So he goes up there and he leads day 1 and day 2. He didn't need another fish. That guy won the co-angler side on day 2. Didn't have to weigh a
Mhm.
fish. He had it outright done. But what that tells me is no matter what, I mean, now you still needed to catch fish on day 3, but honestly, it was one of the toughest tournaments I think I've heard anybody talk about in a very, very long time. Let's talk a little bit about how that fishery was fishing, and we'll break in a little bit about how you kind of made those adjustments and looked at it, because it was one of those things that guys were coming in with one fish, two fish. Even the guys who were catching limits like yourself were talking about it is not easy to get a limit up here right now. Let's talk a little bit about what do you think made it so tough, and what were the adjustments you really made to, break through?
Yeah, I mean, first time putting my eyes on the lake was a couple weekends ago. My trolling motor went out, so we went out on my buddy Quinn's boat. And I'll fully admit I was crazy sick 2 weeks ago, like maybe 50% of how I'm feeling right now at best. But I knew we had to lock in for the tournament and pre-practice and everything because I'm going against guys who have been there and done that. So I saw, we dumped in and it was super sunny. It was like 85 degrees. It ended up being that day. And the water was just crazy clean. And we started trying to chase bait balls and stuff out deep, and I was like, man, this stuff is not working. It's just terrible. So my really pre-practice is always, we get 100 rod out and we're just picking one up, throw it with your guys, throw it down, and it ends up being a rod pile. Just trying to figure that out, especially when it's a tough bite like that.
Yeah.
But we ended up tying the dice on and throwing that thing around and finally got the reaction we were looking for. But I could tell, there's something special about those Almanor fish that not a lot of lakes around here have, and they're just wise. They're smarter than most, and I attribute a lot of it, I think, to the clean water. And I don't know, maybe Mark Pilgrim is out there 6-7 days a week just smashing on them, and that could very possibly be it too. But yeah, that clean water really gets to them, and they know better. There's so many balls of pond smelt and just little baby crawdads everywhere. They're not really begging for bait like it's
Right.
scarce out there. So you gotta really get that deal figured out in order to get them convinced to bite. So I knew, the dice is kind of one of those baits that you can get away with throwing in those high pressure or real smart fish situations, just because it's something they haven't seen. It was like the minnow a couple years ago when they were first seeing it. It was just ridiculous. So I definitely felt like my odds were better with that, and I just kind of took it and ran. But even that first day of practice, we wasted the first half of the day. I caught like one on a jig, one on a crankbait, and they're both little ones. I was like, man, I'm going to get smoked in this tournament. And we got that thing figured out. And, just in the second half of the day, we caught 22 pounds. And I was like, wow, it just completely changed the game. And from all my research earlier, a couple weeks before, going back through those Western Bass forums back to like 2004, however far back it goes, all I was hearing was like high teens at best coming out of that lake. So I was like, man, we really got into them. So I thought there was a good chance we could have been on something special. And my buddy Quinn, I'd call him 5 or 6 times a day, and just while he's at work, and he's like, man, I can't even focus on work. I'm not even fishing this tournament, and I couldn't be more pumped up for you and all that. So it was just a crazy deal to get figured out, and did get lucky. They kind of stayed in the same areas for me, and the weather change didn't mess too bad with them. You know, we just had to make minor adjustments to stay on them, but just kind of took that pattern and ran with it, and we made it happen.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Tackle Warehouse has been the premier online tackle shop since 2003, with a huge selection of not only the latest and greatest from the biggest brands, but the hard-to-find regional specialties as well. Tackle Warehouse. Click, save, fish.
You know, there's a bait you mentioned in there, and I have seen it come out a lot. Everybody's heard it come out a lot. It's that dice. It really takes me back to a time when the Senko came out, and everybody went, "What the heck? What the heck do they think a Senko is?" Because it's just a, it's a cigar, right? It's like, oh, we got big smoke, we got big smoker fish down there. No, it's one of those things. And now the dice comes out. Any clue at all as to what these fish think that is, or what are you fishing it like? Because I heard the weirdest thing I think I've ever heard. I don't know if it was you that was fishing it this way, but you were somebody was drop shotting a dice. And I'm like, I have not a clue what that would do, what that would look like, or why you would even do it. What is it about that bait you think that makes such a big impact on these fish?
I'll just say this first because I talked to him a little bit. I'm pretty sure it was Logan Hunsey who was drop shotting it. And I do just want to give him a shout out because he caught over 20 pounds a day and was crazy consistent. So shout out to Logan for smashing on him. But yeah, I'm not really sure. I've heard in a couple of videos before it's supposed to mimic like a zooplankton or something that they eat when they're like fry. So it's supposed to be kind of hardwired into them since they were little, but it could be some sort of bug or that's probably my best guess at it. And it's funny you ask because all three of my co's asked me like, what is that? Like, what do they even think that is? I told them, I was like, I don't know, but they're biting it. So, that doesn't really matter.
That is it's just really funny because honestly, that's the same way that the Senko came out, right? It's like, everybody would throw it out there and it's like, what is that supposed to be? And honestly, if you ask, Gary, when he made it, it was supposed to be the new fluke. Like he wanted a fluke that danced and walked and swam better. And he created one. Honestly, if you swim that thing, the Senko like a fluke, it's an amazing swim. It's an amazing jerkbait. It really is. Just nobody fishes it like that, right? That's not the main way they fish it. I mean, some people do, but it's like when this thing came out on the market, it hits the market, and you look at it, you go, "What?" I have honestly don't own one and have never thrown one, but I'm guessing I'm going to have to go get some. I have a wall full of bait, and that's going to be then just another one on it. So. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's just turning too many heads and making too much of a noise to avoid. And it's one of those baits that if it ends up being like the Senko, right? I mean, that thing will just be around forever, I guess, because it's like you said, if it is something that like a zooplankton that's hardwired into their system and now they see it and they're just like, I'm eating that whole thing, then, it'll be around for, the Senko's been around forever. I think other baits have come and gone, but those things are just staying around. So maybe it's a staple in the future. Does it matter? Do you think color mattered at all? Was there one color that you picked over others? Did it seem to play any part?
I messed with two during the tournament, and I kind of attributed it mainly to the weather. So the first day we had that front. That's when it really rolled through, like the nasty kind of overcast. The sun really never came out. And I was throwing brown that had some white strands in it. And I noticed, my two colors was either just straight green pumpkin or that brown white. And when I would throw that green pumpkin, when it was overcast like that, it would almost disappear into the water because it got so dark. So I couldn't hardly see it. And I didn't think the fish were seeing it good either because they were sitting down a little bit more. I wanted just enough flash from those white strands in there for them to see it, because they could hear the bait hit the water, and then come up to look at it. But I think it just helped them find it. Once that sun came out, if you kept throwing the white, they just would not eat it. It looked too off, too weird, and probably partially my confidence too was dwindling. That's just how I am after fishing for smallmouth enough, and in those kinds of conditions, I was like, man, I just need to be throwing green pumpkin right now. Yeah. That's what I did. Once the sun came out, like on day 2, we went up shallow. I put that thing back on and made the adjustment, and they went crazy for about an hour and a half for me. But yeah, when it's sunny, throw that green pumpkin, and when it gets overcast, just a little bit brighter, that brown white seemed to be the trick.
All right, so how do you rig that thing? I mean, I've heard it a few ways. Obviously, I've heard it drop shot. I've heard it Texas rigged. I've heard a few ways that guys are fishing, but what is the you just caught 20 pounds a day. What's the proper way to fish that thing? Or is there?
Yeah, the drop shot did, 20 pounds a day for Logan too. Right. And props to him for making that bite happen. Honestly, I think they were biting it either way. It was probably just the bait itself, but mine was Nico rigged. I was just throwing a little wacky rig Gamakatsu hook, and then I had some lead nail weights that were a 1/32, and I was clipping them almost into a third and popping them in there. So I mean, this thing was less than a 64th of an ounce, and I would cut the strands down on the skirt just a little bit, just so I could get a couple more bites. But the bait itself is bulky enough where I would throw at some fish that weren't, they didn't look like true big ones, and they just would refuse it. So I felt like I was getting less bites on it, but the ones that were getting raw, for the most part, 3+.
Wow.
And then I was throwing it on 12-pound fluoro, which actually I think saved me and probably partially saved the tournament for me on day 3. Because I pulled up on this flat point, and I think Asher Haynes was in front of me 200 or 300 yards, fishing down the bank, and the sun had started to come out, and I turned around and I was telling Brian, I was like, dude, we have to get up here. This is just like yesterday on day 2. The sun's out. We got to go up shallow. And I threw that thing up on the bank. I saw a stump in like 4 foot of water, and I seen a fish on my live scope come out of the back of it and grab it, and my bait disappeared. And so I started to lean back into him, and all I could feel was just this squeaky vibration in my line. And I was like, oh man, he's got me buried in this thing. So I leaned back into him and just held it tight, and I could feel him just thrashing around in that stump down there. So I kicked the trolling motor up and burned over the top of it and pulled him out of the back of it. And Brian got him in the net, and it was a 4.5. Wow. And I was like, man, that thing just completely changed the game. And I probably yelled loud enough that Asher could hear me. I mean, my co on day 2, or one of my co's from the Boardman tournament, Chad, was around the corner from us on day 2, and he said he could hear me screaming around the corner when we were wailing on him. So yeah, that 12-pound fluoro definitely made a difference for me there. I think a couple other times too, but sometimes when that sun comes out, they like to tuck up in there, and you got to get down and dirty with them and wrestle a little bit. So we made it happen, but I kept it pretty well the same all 3 days. Like I said, all I did was really switch that color up, and for whatever reason, the morning of day 3, it was probably just a pressure thing, but they were missing it pretty bad. So I had to switch up the hook to a little bit bigger one. That way I could get them pinned. I missed 3 big ones in a row. But that was pretty much my deal. Just a super light Nico rig on it.
Okay. You talked about I only had 2 rods on the deck to this tournament. Was it just 2 dice, or what was your other bait?
Yeah, just only dice, nothing else.
Wow. That's some, I mean, I guess you practice and everything else, and that's just what you came up with, huh? Was that thing was going to be the winning bait, or it wasn't going to be?
Yeah, I told my buddy Quinn and my family, I was like, man, I'm going to live or die by this thing. You know, we blasted them in practice, and either they're going to eat it again or I'm going to be in serious trouble. And I'll tell you guys how that goes tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's talk a little about that. Day one, you put a bag, you put a big bag on the scales. You're sitting there. How did that feel? Was that like the beginning of the nerves? Like, you know what, I'm fishing well, and this might be that tournament, or was it day two? When was that time when you were just like, this might actually happen?
Well, I'll tell you, day one, I was the last flight to come in. I think I was number 26. So I had seen, Brian had got up there and put 20-pound bag on there. Logan had done it. I think there was 4 20s that got put up. Chad Schweitzer, he was actually throwing the same bait as me. So shout out to Chad for having an identical practice. But I seen, 2 or 3 20-pound bags before I'd even put mine in there. And I was kind of looking at them like, man, like I caught them, but these guys did too. So we're going to be into the thick of this for a minute. I didn't know I had 21, almost 22.
Right.
So I told Michael, I got them in here. So, I'll go towards the end and we can see what happens. But once he called out 21.96, I was like, dang, this is kind of next level to be pound and a half above second place. Like that's catching them. So day two, going into it, I was like really hoping that I still had fish. So the weather changed and made the adjustment, and I kind of started, I guess from my perspective with a weaker limit. It was like 16 or 17. I knew it wasn't going to get it done because there's all those guys in the top 5 were blasting them. It's like someone's going to catch them again. And that sun came out, and I had that inner instinct tell me, just take the boat all the way up there, go all the way up. And we got in the water where we could see all the way to the bottom. And the first fish I caught on this point was a 494.
Wow.
And I ended up power pulling us down in like 3 foot of water and just casting at these cruisers going down the side of the point. And it was just 4-pounder, 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 4-pounder. And I ended up culling one out. And that's what I was telling you guys on stage on day two. Like, man, I felt like I was going to have a heart attack since about midday. And that's when it started. I was like, man, I'm on them right now. It was absolutely crazy on midday on day two. I think that's probably when it started bad for me.
Well, it's funny. I believe you just said that, you dropped a 494, and I think you dropped, that was your big fish on the scale. And that thing held up for a while until one guy who was right on your tail the entire time, just right behind you, drops a 506, right? I mean, that was, Bryant Smith comes up, drops that big fish. It's like, uh-oh. that had to be that little bit of, oh, wait, somebody else is getting them too right now. Darn it.
Yeah, no, he was really on them too. And Chad Schweitzer came up to me on day two, and he's like, man, he's catching like 33 pounders a day. He's going to be consistent. And I was like, don't feed that into my ear. You're going to make me more nervous, man. So yeah, he laid it on me. But Bryant and Logan, boy, those guys, they made me crazy anxious on day three. And as much as I tried not to show it, I'm sure they could tell. Bryant asked me at the top 10 dinner, he's like, oh, you got 5 more? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I really don't. But yeah, it was just crazy to have 2 of those guys right on my tail, and the pressure was on all of day 3. And I was telling Brian, I was like, I don't really feel like I earned it today. Like, I broke a big one off. I was missing them all morning. Just my opportunities just felt like they were fading throughout the day. And I actually pulled up on that big island that Bryant was fishing, and Chris Parks was on the other side of me. So I was kind of in between them both.
Yeah. And
I ended up sinking that thing down to like 14 or 15 foot to a big one that was kind of leaning off the side of the island, and he ate it. And I got him pinned and started reeling them in, got them right to the side of the boat, and it was like a 4 3/4 or 5-pounder, and she spit that hook right under the rub rail, just a foot from the net, and I was just devastated. It just broke my heart. But Bryant and Chris were both paying attention to me because they were both roaming around, and so I just picked it back up and kept fishing. But inside, I was mortified. I just could not believe that just happened. Like, there it is, it just slipped away. I just totally screwed it up. And I got that bite out there. I was like, man, Bryant's been out here all day. He's probably got 5 of those in there, so I might really be in trouble. So
yeah.
I was just crazy out of it the last few hours of the day, and it's like, man, I don't know if I got this thing.
Hey folks, Randall and I want to talk to you real quick about choosing the right electronics mount for your bass boat.
Mark and I have been partnered with Bass Boat Technologies from the very beginning, and we know the quality and effort that Van Foster has put into this company.
Custom, that's the one thing that I think about whenever I think of Bass Boat Technologies. Van Foster has spent years, not hours, years perfecting these mounts. He works with just about every bass boat company out there, most models for every bass boat company out there. He has spent the time working on these bass boats. So what you get is a custom fitted mount, not some mass produced universal mount for every bass boat out there. Van makes them custom fit for your bass boat.
Bass Boat Technologies also makes a lot of other custom parts. Seat pedestal plugs, tool holders, steering wheel spacers, and battery trays are all made with the same attention to detail that Bass Boat Technologies is known for.
Bass Boat Technologies is a vital part of our livelihood, and it's very important to your overall boating experience also.
Absolutely, and that's why we choose Bass Boat Technologies. Check them out at bassboattech.com. You'll be glad you did.
That is the part that I think is so honestly in your favor right there, is that you held it all together. Because there's a lot of guys that would have lost it all right then. That's it. No more catching fish. That's it. I lost this thing, and taking themselves out of the game. And you didn't do that. I mean, you kept it together enough to catch some more fish, get up there, and put a good bag, enough of a bag on the scale to, Logan was standing right there.
Yeah, he wanted that thing bad.
I'm not sure who was on that stage last with you there.
It was Logan.
Yeah, right. So I mean, he was catching them, but you stepped up and did that, and I give props to you for sticking with the same bait the entire tournament. I don't know a lot of guys that would have done that. I think your dad's right in that one. There's a lot of people that would not have had that confidence to stick with that same thing no matter what. And two, just to keep it all together. And now you can, and like I said before, now you know what you got to do when you're out there if you want to win. It's like, I can't let those things, I broke a 6-pounder off. Oh well, next. And I think the greatest guy we've ever watched do that is probably Kevin Van Dam. And to put yourself, and I'm putting your name in that list, and you're not there yet, but you know what? That's a guy who's done that many times. Thrown that thing, 6-pounder drops off, and whatever 5-pounder, 4-pounder drops off. He just casts the next cast. Okay, next, keep going. And that's amazing. That's amazing to see that you could do that. And I hope going forward in the future you remember that and learn it and just go, you know what? Just because it was the one, it wasn't the last one.
Yeah, it's an insanely difficult thing to do because your impulse in your mind is to just blow a fuse. Like, seeing that big of a fish and knowing the difference it could have made to cull out like a 3.5. Like, I could have gained over a pound there easily. I could have been putting 21 or 22 back up there on day 3. And just to know, like, I have this gap on Bryant, but he's hammering them too. Like, he's dropped 20 and then 21, and who knows what's in that live well that's 300 yards away from me. It's just waiting to get put in the bag. So having them on my tail like that, just the pressure and me wanting to just lose it, I just couldn't. I was like, we made it this far. You made it through day 1. You made it through day 2, and all eyes are on me now. I've been leading this thing both days, and for day 3 for it to happen like that, I was like, boy, that just better not have done it, or I'm going to be devastated. But I still have I still have 2 hours to go get another crack at getting one like that. So, you know, I'll cry when we get to that point, but for the next 2 hours, I'm going to put my head down and earn it if I get another shot at it.
Absolutely. You did a great job of that, And then after everything's all said and done, you get to the scale and you got to put up with me up there on the stage, right? It's one of those, we said this before, but you're at Simpson College, you're a senior, you're 21 years old. We talked a little bit before the show, that you went out to, it was the Pickwick Slam, the Association of College. Say that again.
The Association of Collegiate Anglers, ACA.
There you go. I keep wanting to put America in there. I see an A and I want to put America in it. I'm just but it's one of those things, you went out there, you had a 19th out of 275. I mean, that's a great finish right there. Let's talk about what kind of experience you've got coming out of Simpson College. We've given away this year, we gave away a scholarship to that in our college division or in our high school division. Coming out of Simpson College, your coach is our tournament director in Michael Bray. What kind of experience has that kind of led for you going through? I don't know if you came out of high school, did college, that sort of thing, or if this is just college football, college fishing has been your one thing. How did you kind of come up through that, and what's Simpson kind of taught you?
Yeah, I did the high school fishing thing in Oregon all throughout high school. I went to three of the nationals and worlds competitions, which were kind of my first real big tournaments outside of the local like club and Bass Federation stuff we did in Oregon. So I kind of got to see the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of like high pressure, big boat tournaments. There'd be high 300s, low 400 boats in every one of those competitions. So it was just insane going from like 20 boats, 15 boats at home to a big tournament like that. But it really just changed the scene for me. And my dad pushed and pushed and pushed for me to go do the college deal. And we met Alex, who was the old coach for Simpson, out at Pickwick in 2019 at the first national tournament I qualified for in high school when I won the state championship. And so we got introduced to the program and we were like, man, that thing's pretty close to home, less than 7 hours, and started considering it my senior year of high school. Like this might be, a good route to go, and went down, got a scholarship offer to do it because I got some pretty good grades in high school and had been fishing tournaments for a little while. So just kind of got my foot in the door and started, but Simpson it forced me to really be more open-minded and more well-rounded in terms of, the lakes and stuff we fish. Cause I do a lot of like river smallmouth stuff at home, and I have more opportunities to go largemouth fishing than probably what I ever took advantage of when I was in high school. But, going back east, it's a totally different deal out there. We have so much clean water and everything out here in California, and then you got to strap everything up in the boat and go fish 6-inch viz at Lake Dardanelle, or like we were talking about Pickwick this spring, right. Man, it rained and blew the river out, and we had to fish where, we could be hitting the bottom with a trolling motor and you couldn't tell the difference. So it really forces you to learn a lot. So I definitely would attribute a lot of my success from just kind of putting myself out there and getting out of my comfort zone to go learn the things that I wasn't good at, and not just stay at home on the Columbia and go, catch river smallmouth.
Okay. You mentioned one thing in there. You said a word, and I think that it's a very important word, and I believe it's going to get better in the future, and I'm hoping it grows and gets even better, and that's scholarship. I know you said you got a scholarship out of it. I don't think anybody's getting full ride scholarships yet for professional or for college fishing. I don't know for positive of that. Especially out here in California or on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Back east, they may be getting $200,000 scholarships. I don't know, but it's one of those, it's one of those things where I think this sport, what you're doing, the age you're doing it at. I mean, we've got some really good young guns out there. Luke Johns, Ty Manarola, yourself, Brennan. I always forget his name, and it's Brennan something. And not I've got Brennan on the phone or on the thing right now. Um, um, it's the other Tyler
Tyler
Madden.
Madden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always get Ty out, Ty Manarola, and I forget Tyler Madden. Sorry, Tyler, if you're listening. I don't underestimate you. You are a heck of an angler. But I see this young guns coming up, and a lot of them have done the college thing. I really see where it's an important aspect of our sport. Talk a little bit to younger guys coming up that have that passion for fishing, and how do they go about finding that scholarship, and how do they go about looking for the colleges that are offering that? How did you come about that whole thing?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, it's an amazing opportunity and something that if I had the choice to go back and change it, I absolutely wouldn't. This has been just an awesome ride all the way through, just a great learning opportunity and meeting tons of people. And like I said, getting out of your comfort zone. For a lot of people, it's not something you want to do, but if you want to take it to the next level, it's almost something you have to do. But in terms of just getting there, I think it starts with the high school thing. Some states it's more prevalent than others. Like mine, it was only 4, 5, 6 boats in the high school tournaments. It doesn't have quite the grasp that it does even in Washington and California. I think they both have a considerable amount more. But I'm thinking about boating for a couple high school kids, in a couple weeks for the California CBF high school tournament out here at Shasta, and one of their kids reached out to me to ask me to boat for them. And I think it's a great opportunity just for those guys if you're in high school and it's something you're looking to do. If there's someone close to you locally who's doing it in school, or someone you aspire to be like, or you idolize or anything like that, just to reach out to them, and we can definitely get you in contact. Like I've put plenty of people in contact with my coach, Michael, whether it was, reaching out to me over social media, or I meet them in person and they're, asking about, oh, what's the wrap? What's Simpson? What do you do there? All that stuff. So it really just starts with reaching out, but there's plenty of opportunity in the high school stuff in most of the country to do it. And I think if that's available, the earlier you start, the better. And if it's really your deal, then reach out, and there's definitely someone out there who will, captain you, or definitely point you in the right direction to make that thing happen.
All right. That's, I looked out there, and this year, Mark gave away $100,000 scholarship to Simpson College, and I'm sure Michael had a lot to do with that. And it's one of those things that I just go, wow, $100,000 towards college. And the young man that won it, Nguyen, he, yeah, I don't know that I'd want to fish against him coming up. That kid has got it. he understands that fishing thing, and he just absolutely did a great job. But one of the things that I kind of was a little disappointed in is the fact that, the high school kids came out, and there just wasn't that many colleges, and there wasn't that many high schools that got into it where they should have been, because we were giving away some good money, some good effort, and there was some definite things they could have qualified for at the college level. So if you're listening right now, I mean, here's a young man coming out of Simpson College right now, just won a massive tournament, just went out there and crushed some good guys. Don't be afraid of, coming out and competing. These guys are absolutely some of the best in the country, but that doesn't mean that any one day you can't do exactly what Brennan just did and beat them all, because you can. So, come out there. I had a question asked of me a couple years back, and I think it's just gotten more and more prevalent now. Do you feel like when you go to grab a boat, when you go to get set up and you want to be out there fishing, do you have to have forward-facing sonar now? Or is it something that if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't?
Hey, Northern California bass anglers. Ready to elevate your fishing game? Ford Fairfield partners with Bass Angler Magazine to offer top-notch trucks tailored for your needs. Our simple pricing ensures a fair deal and exceptional service. We live and breathe bass fishing, participating in local tournaments to understand exactly what you need so you never miss a good bite. Visit Ford Fairfield today and let's hit the water together.
Man, I think competing at the highest level, it's up there definitely with maps as probably your top two tools that you could have on your boat to give yourself as much of a technical advantage. But seeing, and it refers great back to a point you just made. I'm 21 years old, and there's a good chunk of those guys that I just fished against have been fishing literally longer than I've been alive. So just from a time standpoint, I feel I'm at a massive disadvantage just for years and years and years. Those guys spent learning all these little nuances about different techniques and stuff. And then I was walking around in kindergarten or doing whatever I was doing. So I definitely think learning that technology, especially because it's adapted and become so advanced where it is today, helps us, especially the younger guys, to kind of bridge that time gap that we have. Greg Gutierrez, I told him in the pre-tournament meeting, I was like, dude, you were probably out there at Shasta winning boats before I was alive. And he was like, yep, I absolutely was. I was like, well, since you say that, I'm going to, take another peek at my screen and keep watching it, because that's what's helping me bridge that gap right now. So, all these guys have it and everyone's using it. So,
yeah.
Almanor, obviously it showed, its capability, especially you can see the drop off for the Coes, struggling a lot more, but man, it's a wonderful tool to have, and just to learn the behavior and, everything that thing is capable of doing. It's great, but, it's such a crazy technique to learn, and something you got to spend thousands of hours at just to begin to grasp. So I would say at the highest level, it's pretty important to have, but it's not a necessity. Like that Pickwick tournament you and I were talking about.
Right.
Me and my buddy caught 20 pounds this spring, and we didn't need a gruff on the boat at all. I didn't catch any of them on it. So, you don't need to have it, but it's a great tool, when the time is right.
Do you think, you said something in there that really hit me. Do you think that this tournament would have looked more like the coast side if there wasn't forward-facing sonar?
That one's hard to say. I know a lot of people are using it. Every boat you guys went up to with the camera, they're all staring down. Everyone's neck is probably sore after that tournament, but yeah, it definitely could have been that way. It would have been a lot harder for me to figure that bite out, but if it was one of those deals where I could have used it in practice and then kind of done the same technique in the tournament, I probably still could have caught some, but I don't think it would have been to the caliber of what it was. I think it would have definitely been a bit more of a struggle. But there's so many hammers in that field, Bryant or Greg or, someone would have just blasted them anyways. So someone's always going to catch them.
Chris Parks was out there, the angler of the year. This guy knows how to win tournaments as well. Like I said, there was so many. I just can't take away the fact that you went out there and you just, like you said, on the stage with you, Logan Hunsey. This guy was out there crushing them. There was just so many. This is the championship. There's so many good anglers. There's so many the guys that know it. I think it's interesting. I would have liked to have seen Mark Pilgrim made it. I think it would have been a really, really interesting thing to seeing what that guy. He had his shot. He had his shot before, and he went up there, and Colby Pearson won it. So would it have made a total difference? I don't know, but it really would have been interesting to see what Mark could have done up there. But there's just so many good anglers that made it, and so many good anglers that just couldn't keep up with you, man. And it just, that's the way it comes down. And, you walked out of there with that boat, Bass Cat, beautiful boat, ready to go. Do you already have it sold, or are you keeping it, you selling it, what are you doing?
I went up to the storage unit after I got out of class today and took a bunch of nice pictures of it. So I'm going to be getting ready to list it. And if anyone's on
Okay.
here listening and you want a bass cat, you know who to call. But I guess to play off the other thing you were saying too, if Mark was there, that definitely would have been an interesting deal. He told me earlier in the week he had caught a 6-pounder pretty close to where I was fishing. But I couldn't have even imagined having home lake advantage, what that pressure would have been like on top of anything else. That would have been just completely crazy.
It has proven for decades, I mean, more than decades, that home field advantage really, really, really hurts you.
I could not even
mean,
imagine.
you look back through history at guys who have been like, oh, I'm on my water. This is my water. And they just can't get it done. And it seems like ever because it is so tough. I mean, look at Ish Monroe. All right. His tournament win on the California Delta was his first tournament win on the California Delta with us. And it was like, it's so tough. It's not an easy thing to win. And the Super 60 guys are coming up next and they're going to be down there. Do you have any aspirations of making it to the Super 60? Are you going to try to go back east? What's the future for Brennan Osborn?
I would love to make the Super 60. I think that's a real cool deal that BAM's got going, especially with the 30-day off limits. I think it really levels the field out from no one being able to get out there. And not unlike this tournament, I like starting out with that sort of challenge of just something being real tough until you get it figured out. I like that sort of rewarding aspect to it. So to have to just go dunk the boat in and go grind it out, I like the way that sounds, and having to go earn it, that gives me that competitive drive to be like, man, we figured this thing out. But, I'm not too sure. If I could qualify for a Super 60, I would love it. I would absolutely want to be a part of it and would do it wholeheartedly. But, we got some work to do, and over winter break, I'm going to go back to work and go put some money away, and same thing over summer. So it's really no time off for me, either working or being a student and doing this tournament thing. So, we could save up and go back east or do the Super 60 thing if we make it there. But either way, if I stay out here, I'm definitely going to do the pro-ams again, at a very minimum, and a bunch of local stuff too. So no matter what, I'm going to be definitely out there, and that Bridgeford boat's going to be running around a bunch.
Well, that'll be good to see out there. I have this feeling that we'll be seeing you. I will be seeing you on that stage along with everybody else for a couple years at least. The Super 60. I'm not Mark Lassane, but I guarantee you won one of the events out here on the Pro-Am circuit. There may be an invitation coming soon, so keep looking for that in the mail. He gave out a few of them I think Logan Hunsey was one of the guys who got one of them, an invite to the Super 60. Chris Parks got an invite to the Super 60. There were, I think, 4 or 5 guys that got them. I wish I could remember them all, but that's just not the way I work sometimes. I could put them all in front of me, but it's one of those things that, I think that will probably be coming your way soon. I would love to see. I hate losing guys to back east. I would love to see you guys stick out here and stay on the West Coast. So you're close to home. I know it was just one of those nice things. I could see it in your dad's face, your mom's face when they drove all the way down from Beaverton, Oregon. What, about 9 hours to get down here to watch you take this thing home, and what an amazing thing to do right in front of them, of course. So I hope that alone keeps you here. But, this is the time of the show. We're about 10 minutes out here before we got to close it down. And, Brennan, I give you an open mic and just say, you know what? Tell everybody who Brennan Osborn is, how they can follow you, how they can find you. Thank your sponsors. Do everything you got to do, to make yourself a bigger name. Because, everybody, you should be following this guy. He's going to be around for a little while. So, Brennan, the mic's yours, man.
Thank you. Well, I guess I'll start with my socials. That's the easy part. It's Brennan Osborn Fishing. Facebook and Instagram. That's where you can find me. I think, if I put the effort through, I'm going to be trying to start this YouTube thing up pretty soon too. I got a nice camera, so I got to get a mount and all that stuff figured out. But I'd like to start putting some content out from tournaments and stuff. So it should be all under the same name. But yeah, you mentioned my parents coming down. Those are the people I absolutely want to thank first. They've put forth more effort and more work behind the scenes than I've ever let anybody know about, and they deserve the thanks before anybody. Backing me to get down here to go to school. My dad, he's pushed me, past my my comfort level a lot, which has, probably been the sole reason I ever got to this point. There's been a lot of times where I haven't quite had the confidence in myself, and I was looking at the opportunity to get my first boat and just, man, I don't know if I can really hold my own against these guys and go figure this deal out on my own. But he's like, well, you're in college and you're fishing now, so it's kind of now or never, and don't waste the opportunity. And I just couldn't be more glad that he told me that and really laid it to me. There's a lot of people I've met who said they wish that they had the chance to come do this when they were my age. So big thank you to my parents for helping me with that. We're in the process of selling that boat right now, and I got my newer Skeeter now with the Bridgeford wrap on it, and I just couldn't be happier running that thing around. I told you guys how well I felt just confidence-wise fishing out of that thing all week, and I have since this spring, and man, that thing's just been amazing. So yeah, huge shout out to my parents. Obviously, my big sponsor, my wrap on the boat, is Bridgeford Foods. They do a ton for us college anglers. They sponsor Simpson, 3 other college teams who are all back east. But they also sponsor BAM as well. So they're trying to really help out with the West Coast scene. And I think that's a big deal. And everybody, whoever's, going to the gas station, or you go to your local Walmart and you're looking for snacks to go put in the boat for your next fishing tournament, or you're going hunting or camping or whatever, I think you should definitely support the brand that supports the outdoors. That's Bridgeford Foods. They have a ton of great meat products, plenty of good stuff. I eat it when I'm studying, doing homework, driving back from the tournament, whenever. So definitely shout out to Bridgeford. Really appreciate them for everything that they do. And my rod sponsor, Edge Rods, they've backed me for the last couple years. Tom Hartshorn is the pro staff coordinator for them, and he got me on there. I've been fishing against Tom in local tournaments since I was a little kid, and he was part of the Bass Federation and still is running that thing back in Oregon. So I appreciate you, Tom, for the opportunity as well. And I couldn't be happier to be fishing the best rods on the planet. So if anyone needs to know anything or would like to check out any Edge rods, hit me up, man. I can hook you guys up and show you guys a really high quality product. And then just everyone from back home pouring out the support for me, my teammates. It's just been fantastic these last couple of days to really take it all in and really see the support I had. It was just crazy to watch it come out. So I really appreciate everything BAM does and the media you guys did. It was really cool just to go back and watch that video the last day of the weigh-ins you guys put together. So man, this week has just been unbelievable. So I couldn't be more thankful for the opportunities I have and just for being here. So really just happy to be here.
Well, man, you went out there and you proved that you belong there. You did an amazing job. You won the Bass Angler Magazine Championship on Lake Almanor. And one thing no one can ever take away from you is the title. You are the champ, man, and nobody can take that away. You did an amazing job. Brennan, thank you for coming on and doing the show. Everybody, I hope you loved what you heard. I hope you like tuning in here to the BAM Pod. Brennan did a heck of a job. Up next, we are gonna have another amazing angler just like Brennan Osborn. So see you back in 2 weeks. If you didn't get anything out of this one, listen to it again. All right. Have a great night, everybody.